They obviously go back a very, very long way.
Love of the Game is a new book commissioned by the Victorian Amateur Football Association to celebrate its centenary year. Since 1892, the association has made a significant contribution to the evolution of Australian football. And General Manager Phil Stevens, a former Victorian, Geelong and St Kilda player, is justifiably proud of its achievements.
Significant rules were experimented with the VAFA in the early days, in particular the order off rule, which has been adopted by the VFA, and the AFL are looking at experimenting with too. In the early days, we introduced the 19th and 20th men for the first time. In the early days of football, they simply had enough players or as many reserves as turned up on the particular day. So they are the main and most significant rules that we've looked at over the years and introduced.
Born through the fiercely competitive nature of old schoolboys, the VAFA can trace its origins back to some of Melbourne's most prestigious institutions.
Very interesting way that the amateurs did start off. Basically, a group of gentlemen from the old school days decided they would like to keep together and in times keep meeting and playing together. Sport, and football being the sport that had the greatest attraction. Delegates from these first few clubs met in the city at a famous hotel called the Orient Hotel, and they just basically ran the competition in its early days.
From its humble beginnings as a community-based competition, the league grew quickly, and in 1925 a Victorian amateur team played its South Australian counterparts for the first time. 11 years later, in 1936, an interstate carnival was formed with teams from Victoria, New South Wales, Western Australia, Tasmania and South Australia.
The first Australian amateur football carnival took place in 1936 in Adelaide, which was a very significant move, and we now have 4 amateur football playing states, and we play our lower sections, play on a regular basis, teams from the Victorian Country Football League, and even on a one-off type situations we play combined games against the VFA. In 1982 we had the inaugural game there against the VFA, played at Sandringham, which was, I can happily say, won by the VAFA.
Interstate rivalry continued this year when, as a curtain raiser to the Hawthorn Crows match, Victoria defeated South Australia by 83 points to retain the highly regarded West End trophy.
A carnival is held every third year, every 3 years, and for the 2 years in between those carnival years, the amateurs, the Victorian amateurs, play against South Australia. And we just had a recent state game against South Australia.
With such a great pool of talent, it's not surprising the VAFA has long been regarded as a nursery for potential AFL stars.
We have a very, very rich past in terms of players that have played. We look at Brownlow medalist Robert DiPietro started with one of our amateur clubs. Ross Smith, who went on to win the a Brownlow medal, played with Hampton Rovers. Neil Roberts with Melbourne High School Old Boys. David Parkin. So the list is rich of players that have commenced their careers in the amateurs and have come back and contributed to the amateurs in a coaching capacity after they have left.
Now 100 years old and comprising more than 200 clubs and a staggering 10,000 footballers, what does the future hold for the VAFA?
We go into our next period of 100 years knowing that parents will want their youngsters to play top quality football, played the right way.
Morphett reporting.